For the sake of the recording, this is week 5, Brightspace Toolkit Part 3. So this is the final toolkit, though next week is our final week, and it is actually our course management week. So next week will be like grading, the class progress tool, attendance, and another fun thing that I can't remember off the top of my head. But this week we will be doing the Zoom integration, the 2 Bongo tools, which is virtual classroom and video assignments, and then how to kind of get your old stuff from Moodle over into Brightspace in terms of Bongo. So we'll go over that a little bit. But I'm going to present my screen here so we can get going. So I'm going to start in my course here, the test course that I have. And if you look to the top, you'll see that there is a Zoom link right here in your nav bar. So when you go into your course, you'll just see the Zoom link and you'll just be able to click on it. So the nifty thing with this Zoom integration is that it knows your email from your account in Brightspace, and that email is tied with a Zoom account if you have a Marywood Zoom account. So it kind of just connects it automatically, no need to sign in. Though if you do see an error, it's because you don't have a Zoom account.
Question, I signed up for a Zoom account and then it stopped working after the fall semester. How do I get a new Zoom account?
Okay, you can send a ticket to the help desk and it'll go straight to Kat and she'll be able to help you out.
Thank you. Continue.
Yep, no problem. So once you get that Zoom account, you should be able to see what is up here on the screen. So you get a port straight into your Zoom account, but this is specific to the course you're in. So I have no meetings here, which is untrue because I totally do if I go into my actual account, but I have no meetings set up for this specific course. So there's nothing here and upcoming. I haven't made any meetings in this course before, so none in previous, but you can also get your cloud recordings from here too for all the meetings that you have for this course. So what you can do is click on schedule a new meeting up in the top right, and it opens up the standard sort of meeting details that you would see if you made a meeting in your Zoom account itself. So here, maybe I would say something for the topic like, I guess, office hour via Zoom or something like that. That would be a good use case for the Zoom integration if you weren't doing like full Zoom courses or meetings. But obviously that's completely up to you. So you would also detail when it is and what time. So I will keep this one at 4:12 today at 3 p.m. And it'll be an hour, so you could change that. And you can set it as recurring. So if you wanted to do this office hour at 3 o'clock on a Monday every single week, you can set it recurring, and that lets you pick if you want it to recur daily, weekly, monthly, or no fixed time, and it's just kind of a meeting you can hop into. Or once you pick your recurrence, you choose how it repeats, and then you have an end date, so end of semester probably, if you were doing that. I'll uncheck it though, just because I don't want it to recur, but you can then continue down. You can keep your waiting room. So if you want to have it so that when a student comes in, you know that they're there and you can let them in. You can also allow video for your participants, and then you can have them muted upon entry. You can have the meeting record automatically. So you have these 3 options as well. There's also the alternative hosts down here at the bottom. I think it pre-populates if you have like a co-teacher in your course, that other faculty member will be listed as an alternative host automatically. But you can add someone here. So if you had a guest speaker that has a Zoom account, I'm pretty sure you could put their email in, especially if they're in Marywood's domain and they have a Marywood account. But it will pre-populate with the co-teacher you have, and you should be good to go from there. But once you click save, it just shows you your typical, here's your Zoom information page, including the topic and how to add it to your calendar. And then you also have the invitation. And this is important because these Zoom meetings do not automatically populate in the Brightspace calendar, but there is a quick way to actually put it in the calendar. So I'm going to click copy the invitation right from here. Gives me the whole big thing. So I'm going to copy that, and it says copied to clipboard. And then what I'm going to do is click up on tools and course admin. Though I will say, because you guys have actual courses and mine is just a test course, you will be able to actually click on if I come over here to this course, you'll just be able to click on the date, and that brings you straight to the calendar for your course. So it should bring you right here. Just do note that it does show you events from all of your specific courses, so you'll see everything across your courses. But what you'd be able to do with that Zoom link is then click Create Event, and that will open up a new page. And you can just enter the event title, so maybe the same thing as your Zoom meeting, office hour via Zoom. And in the description, you can just paste that invitation. So you can right-click, paste it, and the links are intact and everything. So when a student sees that in their course calendar, they can just click on it on the date and time that it's taking place, and they'll be able to join the meeting. But it is also a good idea to change the when date and time down here to the appropriate date and time. So in our case, it was 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and I can click Create. And you can also add recurrence, as you could see there. So if you had a recurring meeting, you could just have that recur also. But now I should be able to look in my agenda. It's funny that I put it in, but it's not actually showing up. But let me look in the course schedule. There it is. Found it. So I put it in the course schedule. When the students click on course schedule, they should see this. And they'd be able to click on that link. It opens up their meeting for Zoom, and then they can enter it no problem. I will hop in here and delete that later, but you know, it's nice to know that you can do that. So they do not happen automatically. You will have to add that yourself. But if you realized afterwards you did not add it yourself, you can come back in. I'm pretty sure you could just click the topic and find that invitation once more. So when you actually have a bunch of Zoom meetings in here, you'll see that they'll be listed in chronological order just for this course. And you can start them from here. You can also, once they're recorded, grab the recordings from this tab. Just note that with everything else in our Zoom account, in terms of cloud recordings, they do only exist for 10 days after they've been recorded. So if you are planning on keeping them as like a lecture and it's a long-term sort of thing, you want to keep it around more than 10 days, we recommend actually downloading it from your Zoom account and then just uploading it to Brightspace, because it can handle at least an hour and a half. Like Kat double-checked that. She uploaded an hour-and-a-half video and it was fine. So you can upload that directly to your Brightspace content tool if you want it to be around longer than 10 days. So that's just a little note about the Zoom integration. Another cool thing that you could look at, I can't because I haven't actually used this for meetings yet, is a meeting report. So essentially you can click on your meeting topic once it's in the previous meetings area, and you can click on report to see who attended. So it'll say the names of the students who were there, and it grabs those names because they're connected to their Brightspace accounts. So it tells you who was there, for how long, if you need that kind of information. And that's pretty much it with the Zoom integration. Are there any questions about anything? Alrighty. So that one's pretty easy. Actually, before I hop off this page, you'll see that there's an all my Zoom meetings /recording, so you can get right to your other things right from there. So you can see everything all at once, but when you're just clicking on the Zoom thing, it just shows you your course. So there we go. So next up is actually Virtual Classroom, which is one of 2 Bongo tools that Brightspace has, and it is Bongo. So if you've used it before, it's going to look exactly the same, which is great. So where you can find it is in the Tools menu. So you'll click on Tools, and it's all the way at the bottom because V for Virtual Classroom. So if you click on that, it opens up Virtual Classroom, and it looks a lot like Bongo, as you remember from Moodle. So that's nice. So it has your active meetings on the top. It has your recorded meetings on the bottom, just as you would expect. But when you want to add one, you click on this red plus button called Schedule Meeting, and it brings up the schedule meeting options right here in the window. So that's a little bit different. So you will need to fill out the required fields. So we have title. Maybe I'll do something like office hour via Bongo, just for fun. You will need a meeting date and time, or you can bypass those by checking now. So if you wanted to record something, you could check now. And actually, I might just do that instead of calling it an office hour. I'll say lecture 1. And I'm going to do it right now so that as soon as I click save, I can go right into the meeting and start my stuff. Something different here in Bongo for Brightspace is that the max duration is now 240 minutes, which means you have 4 hours to do stuff if you want, which is great for your 3-hour classes. If you liked holding them in Bongo, you can do that without breaking them in half, which is what you had to do in the past. So 240 minutes is how long you can do things. You can repeat it weekly if you like, so it could be recurring. And you can have it set to automatically record the meeting as soon as you get in there. So if you are, raring to go and you don't mind having a couple minutes in the beginning where you're setting it up, then you can have it automatically record. Otherwise, you can leave it unchecked. We have it set to automatically publish the recorded meeting, which only means exactly what it did in Moodle. So when you did a meeting or a recording in Moodle, that link where you made the recording turns into the recording. And that's what this publish means. It means like when you put that in content, yeah, the students can attend the meeting if that's what you're going to do with it. But if you were and you wanted to record it, then it would just turn into that recording right after it's done publishing or processing. So you can definitely keep this checked. I don't think there's any downside to that. You can allow external participants, which just means you get the external URL for this. So if you want to put it in another course, you can grab that URL, or if you want to invite someone outside of Marywood, you can get that URL to invite them to the meeting. So,
okay.
Yes.
I have a question here. Okay, so in the past, what I had to do is someone created a workspace for me, and then I'd have to go on and copy the public URL to put it in my other course.
Yes.
So is what you're saying is if I check this, I won't have to go through that step and I'll get the public URL right there and I could just put it in my other class? Or do I still have to go through that workspace like I'm doing now?
Right. The workspace no longer exists because you can just go straight to that virtual classroom tool and you'll have them all listed like you see here. So you can use that actions bar to get that URL. So no workspace needed, just go straight to the tool.
Okay, so but I have to have that checked to have the public URL?
Yes. So that's like when you're creating the meeting. So maybe just, even if you don't think you'll need it, just check it anyway, just in case.
Okay, I'm sorry, that's too small for me to see. It says allow external. What does that say?
It says allow external participants.
Thank you. Got it. Thank you.
No problem. And then the other default is invite entire class. If you don't want to have your class invited to this meeting, I'm not sure if that sends them a notification or not, but if you are just doing this for yourself and recording it so you can post it to the class, I would uncheck that just to be safe. So you don't have to alert anyone to the fact that you're recording something. But once you're done, you will see that there's a note that 150 people is the max for this meeting, but I mean, if you're just recording in it, not a big deal. So click on save. And it takes a little bit, especially if you mark it for right now. It takes a bit to set it up for now. So it kind of stalls a little bit and you kind of have to wait for a little announcement saying that the class or the meeting will start soon, like that. It'll bounce you right out of it and says it's created. So I can see here that it's scheduled for today at 2:17, which was a minute ago. And if I click on the kebab menu in the actions column, I can see launch. And this is also where I grab that external link too. So it says copy external link, so I can get that for later, but I can also launch it right now. So Chris, I will say, I feel like if you record it, you can get that public URL no matter what. So you might not have to check it now that I'm thinking about it, because it's in a different part of the page. But so it opened up in a new tab, and it actually looks a little bit different than it did in Moodle, but it's the same kind of idea. So I opened up my meeting, I launched it, so I have the option to join it right now. I can also copy the external invite link. So because I allowed external participants, I can grab that link right now before I enter it. I can also show the dial-in information if I have any students who need that dial-in info. And then there's some helpful tips for virtual classroom. So if I clicked on that, it opens up a new page. You can kind of get a little familiarized. But once you're ready, you just click join and it opens up in yet another tab. And here is the meeting as we know and love it. It looks a little bit different, but not too much. So I'm going to use just microphone, I guess. It does a little echo test. I have to allow the microphone, you know, the whole 9 yards. I hear the echo, it's very awkward. And now I can see that I am over here on the left. I have a little microphone, which means I can speak. So I'm going to record this just so we can see for later. So you click start recording, and this is the point where maybe you want to add a presentation. So you click on presentations, you can upload your files. We recommend uploading presentations for like PowerPoints that don't have any animation because it's a bit simpler and you don't have to share your screen constantly, and it kind of cuts down on bandwidth so that it's a little bit of a smoother video depending on your internet speed. But otherwise, sharing your screen is also fine. Over here on the left, we have participants, so we can see the public chat. We can see all the participants other than the presenter. We can also look at some permissions here, like if people can share their webcam, if we could see other people's webcams, which is interesting. This is all new, by the way. I haven't seen this before. This is, you could have them share their microphone or send public chat messages or send private ones. So kind of a lot like Zoom, actually. If you click on public chat, you can kind of reach out to everybody. This becomes part of the recording too. If it's the same as it was before, it's in quadrants. So in the top left, I believe the presentation is there. In the top right is your webcam, or maybe it's vice versa. And then in the bottom left, you kind of have an interactive table of contents if you have an uploaded presentation. And then in the bottom right, you have the chat. So what I would usually tell people is to use the attachment as well. If you had a PDF or a PowerPoint that you want to share with someone, you can stick it in the chat and it will be part of the presentation and they can actually click on it during the presentation or the recording. So we'll see if that's still true once we see the recording. We also have polling in here, so that's pretty cool. Also you can do custom polling, so that's quite nice. You can, you know, have your polls going and whatever you need to do here. You can also do breakout rooms. So depending on how many people you have, you can split your meeting into smaller groups. And then there's also the option to have someone type out closed captions. Now, real quick, along the bottom, we have the muting and unmuting. So you can do that as much as you like. You can also leave the audio if you no longer want to be able to talk in it or something. You can share your webcam, which kind of gets a little funky. So you can see like a little preview. You can start sharing it and it shows up at the top. I think students can share their screens. They share their cameras too, but I think only up to 8 students unless that has changed. So the only big difference between Bongo and Zoom is that Bongo doesn't really allow for gallery view. So when you're presenting, like you're not really seeing anybody. It's kind of just you. So if you're just recording lectures, Bongo's the way to go. Otherwise, I would probably recommend Zoom or Google Meet, but it still has a lot of good tools. So I'll stop sharing that webcam. But then the last thing is sharing your screen. So it's a lot like Zoom, Google Meet, where you click on it, you can click your entire screen, an application window, or a Chrome tab, and then you're good to go. So I'm going to stop the recording so that at some point in this training, I can go back and show you what it looks like. And then once I'm done here, I'm just going to end the meeting, and now it's done. You probably noticed there's a leave option, and that's just you leaving the meeting, but leaving it open. So if you wanted to like duck out or something to go to the bathroom, you can do that and come back to your course, your students and stuff in the Bongo classroom. But that's pretty much virtual classroom. It's very similar to how it was in Moodle, especially in the setup. It just looks a little bit different once you're in there. So it might be worth playing around with if you want to use it for your course. Are there any questions about anything? Okay. Alrighty, so I'm back here on virtual classroom. When this is done recording, my lecture 1, it's going to hop down here to recorded meetings. So we'll come back and check on that later. But right now, the second thing we're going to do is Bongo video assignments, which is the assignment feature from Bongo and Moodle. So if we click on Tools and then click on Video Assignments, it should open up just fine, and it looks very similar to Bongo and Moodle. I have 2 projects in here already, but I will show you what it looks like to set one up. We have 4 different options. We have interactive video, which is if you have a video, maybe it's a lecture or something, or even a YouTube video, as long as it's something that you've downloaded and can then upload to Bongo. You can insert questions throughout the video to have students answer as they're watching. So that's what that one would be. We also have question and answer. So you can pose a question via video, and then the student has a certain amount of time to respond with video and audio. They also have an interesting feature in this one where you can do like a kind of like a first look almost, or like a reaction type. So as soon as you finish asking the question, it turns on their camera because they consent to it beforehand. And it's like, oh, this question, I'm not so sure on it. So if you need like an improv style response, then this is quite nice. There's also group and individual assignments. These are very similar to each other, except that one is an individual and the other one is for a group. So I'm actually going to go through individual assignment because I see most instructors looking for help with this because it is a really cool assignment type. So I'm going to go through and kind of create one. So if I click individual assignment, it has a required name field here. So we're going to do project 1. We also have optional due dates. I'm going to put one in. It brings up a little date picker. So I'll do maybe April 13th. Gives us a time. I'll say maybe 11:59. So I'll click on the minutes here, PM. It's a little funkier than other time pickers I've used, but it's effective. Then you have an evaluation type of percentage. Auto analysis has something to do with the way they speak, and it kind of analyzes their speech and what words are used. And you can define like, I don't know what the word would be, but kind of like buzzwords that it's looking for. So if you wanted to make sure they use the word like effervescent in their project, then you can use auto analysis. There's also the option for rubrics, pass fail, and auto pass, and then 5-star. So you have a bunch of options here. If you did select rubric, you do get the option to make one in Bongo. I don't believe that they connect at all to any rubrics that you have in Brightspace. So they are specific to Bongo. So if you felt like making a Bongo rubric, you could definitely go through and do so. You would just click on this plus button, and it's pretty much a basic rubric type. Though it looks like you can import a rubric. So if you've done one in Bongo before, I believe there's a way to export it, and then you can import it in here. But I will go back to our instructions. It does require text instructions of some kind. So if you want to say like refer to the video for full instructions or something like that, we recommend keeping it succinct and short. So I can say something like refer to the video, and that fulfills that requirement. Then this little video icon lets you record instructions. So if you click on the video, you can record or upload a video if you already have one. And you can choose to share your screen. So if you want to show them how to do something in a specific application as part of the instructions, then make sure to check that screen. So when you are recording video and screen, it brings up a lot of stuff. So I will maybe record, I don't know, something. I'll record this just so I can show you. It comes up side by side. And as you're speaking, it determines what microphone you're using. So it automatically detected my microphone. And then you can record for a little bit, up to 2 hours? No. Yeah, I guess that's a lot. I'll click stop. And then I will click save. So it takes a little bit to process, but you can work on other things as it's processing. But that is also good to note because that is how the students will upload their own videos. So that is exactly what they'll see. So if you do it for yourself, you'll better be able to help them walk through it a little bit because it is a little weird at first. So once you're done with the instructions, you can kind of bop on down to this auto analysis, which I briefly spoke about. It has key terms that you can define, but I don't usually kind of play around with that too much. What a lot of people do ask about is the peer review. So you can have it set so that after they submit their project, they can peer review a set amount of peers' projects, or just in general, they could view other people's. So by default, they have a required amount, but if you actually click on this, you'll see that you can go all the way down to 0. So you can have 0 required, but still have them be able to view other people's. And it seems like that's it, but really you need to click Show Advanced to see all of your options. So there are more for peer review. You can have it so that it's automatic, so that the Bongo system actually just randomly assigns a peer to review. Or you could have it be manual so that the students get like a drop-down selection of who else is done with their submission and they can click on a certain person. You can allow the peer review before the submission so they can view other ones before they submit their own. You can also have the reviewer identities concealed so that they don't know who reviewed them, which might be nice. Then you can also have the submitter identity concealed as well, but that's only if you have it automatically selected, obviously, because if you select them, you know who you're picking. So we have our required reviews, but then there's a review type. So you could do either 5-star, or you don't have to have a review type if you don't want to do that. Or if you did a rubric for the assignment, you can also give them the rubric to peer review each other with. So that would be automatic. If you did put a rubric in there, you'd be able to see that assignment rubric. You can set a due date for the peer reviews. So maybe I do a week after the assignment is due. And then if you had a rubric assigned, you can do rubric self-assessment as well. So that would come up for the student and they'd be able to assess themselves based on the rubric that you have. I am going to scroll back up because there is another little bit of instructions that popped up when I clicked advanced. And this is post-submission instructions. So if you want to tell them after they're done submitting, now go on and do your peer review, this is where you would do it. And then under that, you have Toolset, which is really important. So Toolset automatically sets everything as fair game. So if you want them to submit a video and nothing else, you want to make sure that you only have the video enabled. So you want to get rid of documents and meetings. But if you don't care what they submit, so if you want them to submit a presentation maybe, in addition to a video, you can have both of those enabled. Or if you want them to meet with someone and like record their interview with someone, you can have meetings enabled so that it looks like virtual classroom and they can meet with someone, share their screen and record and everything. So it can get as detailed or as not detailed as you want. I usually kind of recommend videos. If you're doing a video project, just keep it simple because the students do tend to get a little bit overwhelmed with it because it's new tech, so it makes sense. We are still processing on that very short video, but we can still save, I believe. Oh, because I selected rubric. I didn't mean to. I'll click percentage. And then I can save. So even if your instructions are not done yet, you can still save. It will be done soon enough. But the cool thing about these assignments is that you can come in here, click configure, and change anything you want at any point. Though usually we kind of recommend to not change it too much when the student starts submitting. Also, you can overview it so you can see out of your whole course where they are in the project. So you can see who hasn't viewed it yet, who has viewed it, who's in progress, who needs evaluation, and then on the other side of everything, who's evaluated and whose scores are published. So all of that is seen here in the overview. Now, what you would do from here is actually go over to content and put these things in your content. So in whatever module you like, you can insert your virtual classroom recordings or your projects, whatever you like, right into the content tool. I'm not sure I understand. Siri just spoke to me. I'm sorry. So if I click on content, I come over here and I have all my modules as options. I will click on maybe this last one and make sure to click existing activities. So in here, you can scroll all the way down and you will find your video assignments. In here, you can actually also create assignments. So if you're like, oh, I'd like to do one right now, you can create it right now. Or you can select which one you want to insert. So you'll notice I can't select these first two, and that's because their due dates are long past. So I can select the one whose due date is not passed yet. So once I click on it, it adds it to the bottom of my area here. And when I click on it as the instructor, I get that overview immediately. So I will see it just like this whenever I click on it through content. Now I'll show you real quick what a student sees when they click on it. I do have to impersonate my test student. This is the only tool that doesn't work when you use the change role to student. It just, for some reason, just does not vibe. I think it's because it's a third-party tool, so it just doesn't show you the student side of it. So on the admin side, I can impersonate my test student to show you what it looks like. So if I click on Project 1 as a student, I will see that it opens up in this page, and I have 1 day and 9 hours to complete it. So it tells you what day it's due and at what time, but it gives you a countdown. And then I have the instructions and my video finally uploaded. That's great. You can see, though, that the side-by-side screen and webcam, the webcam is favored and the screen is smaller. You can make this full screen, but that really does not help now that I'm noticing. But, you know, that's just how it looks. I can also see that I can have it side by side instead of collapsed into the corner. And then when I do this, it's a little bit easier to see things. I can make a full screen, and that makes it a lot better. So keep that little icon in mind if you're using that information. But the student will then see that video, they can watch it. But then when they actually go to submit their information, it would be this add button and then video, because I only allowed video. Then they can record the video with their screen or just camera. And if they record it, then it's the same thing that you did when you did the instruction video. So it's very similar to that. But once it's done, it kind of shows up here in work in progress until it's done processing. And then they have to physically click on the star to add it to the submission area. So they will need to do an extra step once it's processed and they look at it and think it's good enough for submission. They can then click on a star, it's a pink star, and it goes down to the submission area, and then they can submit. So you can see that on the instructor side, if it's in progress, that's what the overview would say. It would have their work in the in progress area, and if like the due date comes and they still haven't submitted it, it might be because they don't know how to submit it. So it might be worth reaching out and saying, hey, I see you have something in there. Make sure to click the star to submit it. And they'll be like, oh, okay. Even though it says it right down here. So that's pretty much the video assignment portion of Bongo. Do you guys have any questions about anything?
I do.
All right.
Okay, so when I record a virtual classroom, am I going to have to add it, like go to my table of contents and go to existing assignment and add virtual classroom for the week?
Yeah, let's look at that real quick. Thanks for reminding me, because I did the assignments, but I didn't do the classroom.
Yeah.
And I think the recording's probably done, though that could be wishful thinking. So let's look. You know how long Bongo takes sometimes.
Yes.
So I'll click on existing activities and then virtual classroom all the way at the bottom. We should have a selection of things. It seems like I only have my class meetings, so I might actually have to go in there and grab that link, which is fine. So let me just go over. If I wanted to put my meeting into the content tool for them to join, this would be how you would do it. But I think for the recording, it might be slightly different, just because technically it's a classroom tool instead of a recording tool, but we kind of, you know, use it in a different way. So I come back to virtual classroom and my thing is actually done. So that's great. I click on actions, that little kebab menu, and grab the public URL. And it doesn't say it was copied, but I believe it was. Then if I come back to content and click upload, create a link, I'm pretty sure that's good enough. I will paste that link in there. Yep, that looks right. The Bongo in front. Lecture 1, and then create. So we should see at the bottom of this, this is the recording. So when they click on that link, they'll see this page. So you can see on the left, if I uploaded a presentation, this is where it would be. And this right here is directly correlated to the presentation you upload. So that's why there's no other blocks, because I didn't upload one. If I click on the play button, it starts my audio because I didn't have a webcam until the green bar, I think. So I'm hearing myself speak, and then I will see myself pop up at some point. But essentially you do, there it is. If you have your webcam from the beginning, it's going to be on the right. But there should be this little attachments area, and that's the attachment I put into the chat. So they can click on the document I'm talking about if I want them to. So those are the 4 components of the virtual classroom recordings, and it's the same exact thing that you were used to in Moodle.
Okay.
So, all right. But yeah, I guess you just have to grab that link.
Okay, that works.
No
Okay,
big
no problem.
deal. Any other questions before I briefly talk about Moodle to Bongo or Brightspace? Okay, so I already have my Moodle course up here. Kat sent across an email maybe a week or two, about moving your Bongo information and things from Moodle to Brightspace. So she mentioned having a workspace, and that is only really important if you want to grab those links for those recordings. If you had Bongo assignments in your course, that works just as well. Like, you just need to get to a place where you can see the hamburger icon in the top left. And if you have a Bongo assignment, you will see that no matter what. So if you already have assignments, you do not need a workspace, but all you do need to do is click on the hamburger menu and click on meetings. And if I had meetings in here, then they would show up under recorded meetings, but you would get that kebab menu and then grab the public URL. And if you wanted to just directly put that into your Brightspace course, you could do that, upload, create, and then create a link like I just did. Or another thing we've been saying is to open up a Word doc and just copy and paste them into there with their titles so that you have it beyond your coursework right now. So you can kind of come back to them just in case.
Okay, so we can go in, I can go in there to my workspace and just copy them and put them in a Word doc. And so those, are we going to lose? So we'll keep those meeting and those meeting links, even though we're not going to have Moodle anymore?
Right. Yep. Because
Okay.
Bongo is a third party, so you'll still have access to them. But
Okay.
I do remember Kat saying something about if you are going to back up your stuff from Bongo, which is separate than getting those links, you need to do that by May 20th. But we have Moodle until June 30th. So we have a little bit of time to grab those recordings just in case you want them.
Okay.
So let me just find a course real quick that does have them. I'm pretty sure I do have a course that does. I believe it is this one. We have a workspace here. Pretty sure we have meetings as well. So I will click on that hamburger menu, meetings, plenty of them. So I can click actions and copy public URL and just copy and paste them into a Word doc. Just make sure you have the titles because the links do not indicate what they are. So keep that in mind. But there is something about backing up your Bongo information. I need to get my notes. So you will need that workspace or assignment so you can grab that hamburger menu, and you will want to go to the support area, which is this little like message icon with a person in it. And if you click support, you also get this largely blank screen, but if you click on the kebab menu in the top right of the support screen, you will see export private data. So this will actually export like your webcam / audio into one file from your recordings. Screen shares are going to be in separate files. Uploaded presentations will be in separate files. But the webcam and audio for each one will be in their own files. That's just in case something with the link doesn't work out. You have those components so that we can maybe help you like fuse them together. So at some point. So it's just kind of like a reassurance more than something you necessarily need to do. But we do recommend allowing a few days for this because when you click export private data, it comes up as pending. So it kind of pings to Bongo like, hey, I want my files for this course. And if you have a lot of recordings in that course, it might take a bit. So you might have to come back in a couple days and check on your export, at which point you could then download it and you'll have it forever. So
is it, what does it give you, like a zip file, or what does it give you?
It should give you a zip file. I haven't done it myself yet because I just heard about it like yesterday or the day before. But I'm pretty sure it'll be a zip file, especially if you have a lot of information and recordings in that course. I think that would be the easiest way to deliver it. So, but yeah, that's a good question. That's pretty much all I wanted to bring to attention, because I know she sent out that email and there was a date of May 20th on it, so I just wanted to bring it up. But do you guys have any other questions before I let you go? Alrighty. Well, then that is week 5, and that is all of the fun toolkit stuff for part 3. So I'll stop the recording.